Ships. Starfield has a lot of ships, and the customization in the ship builder is so damn fun. So many opportunities to enhance your role-playing by giving yourself your own customized equivalent of the Normandy or the Ebon Hawk, but perhaps you want a little bit of glitz and glam, a space limo perhaps. Welcome to Fudge Muppet, my name is Scott, and these are 3 luxury-style ships that you can build in Starfield. I'm going to show you each one with both an exterior and an interior tour, and then I'll show you how to make each. On our previous 3 ship builds, linked below, many of you guys have been requesting something luxury, something rich, something that a money-making CEO type character might create. Well, I think I have something in the ballpark of that. The next build on the channel will be the Ronin build, and in the midst of creating his character, I had to decide on a ship design that I thought would fit the corporate mercenary, something that an operative of Ryujin might pilot. But bear in mind, I had to only use Class A parts because the Ronin build does not invest into piloting or shipbuilding at all really. So what we have for you today is 3 luxury ships. The first, an A-class ship, the very same ship that the Ronin will be using, and then I created a very nice C-class variant of that ship using ranks 4 of piloting and starship design, and then finally I took the same core concept and expanded on it. Literally, which resulted in this luxury cruise liner type ship designed to give passengers and crew the glitziest experience. But let's talk concept. You will notice that these 3 ships all have a black and gold yellow color scheme to help it appear more Great Gatsby or something like that. And also I utilize a lot of the Teo brand parts, including the cockpit, in order to give it a sleeker, rounded look. And it almost reminds me of a limo or something. Now, disclaimer, I tried the best I could with the interior selections, but Starfield doesn't have any sort of nightclub, gold-plated 5-star hotel interiors, which, to be fair, it is a spaceship, there is a level of practicality needed, but perhaps in DLC or mods there will be some more luxury options, maybe like the Fortuna ship in the Freestar questline. Here's hoping, but either way, let's have a look at what I could do. Starting with the Ronin's ship, which I named Jiraiya. Yes, very weeb of me, but with the wakizashi-wielding Ronin character, I felt it was very on brand, and it looks smoother and more toadish, I suppose. Anyways, this is a A-class ship, so literally anyone can replicate this design, even without piloting or starship design skills. This could be a good fit for some kind of wealthy CEO type character, or a gangster even, who isn't focusing on piloting at all, or perhaps it's just a neat early game design for you. I also kept it very lean with weapons, as we don't have a stacked reactor or anything with lots of power, so I equip only 3 particle beam weapons. Each does equal damage to shield and hull, and honestly, if you're ever looking for a minimalist weapon selection, in my opinion, particle beams are the way to go. This particular ship build only uses 2 2x1 habs and a single 1x1 hab, so it keeps it neat and tidy in terms of design. Again, a smoother, leaner look was something I wanted. The habs themselves are Teo brand, which gives the smoother, rounded look on the exterior and matches the cockpit very well, and the interiors are very wide and almost remind me of modern house interiors, not a lot of color. Also, for this Ronin operative character that works for Ryujin, it made sense that this ship is built from Teo parts, as Ryujin owns that company. However, if you dislike the Teo interiors, you may prefer Stroud ones or mixing and matching. Some Teo habs, as you will see, I feel look a lot fancier, but others not so much. And the same can be said for Stroud. Anyways, let's jump into the interiors and I can show you what I mean. When we enter from the landing bay, we find ourselves in a 1x1 Teo companionway that features windows on each side and on the floor, a little nice viewing room. Throughout these luxe builds, I find that windows really enhance the rich vibe. You want to be able to count your credits while you drink your gold leaf cappuccino, looking out the window at all the pores on the planet below. From the companionway, we take the ladder up, and this puts us in the captain's quarters. But let's start front to back. The cockpit itself, I think, looks very sleek and polished, very new age, and all the leather seats and such. I get the luxury vibe here. The cockpit leads into the 2x1 Teo captain's quarters, which has seating, a bathroom, and tucked away is this bed, and then there's a desk here, and you can alternatively swap it out for a Stroud 2x1's captain's quarters. But the bed in that one looks pretty mid, far from luxe and less desk room as well. It just doesn't feel right to me. And also again, the Stroud Habs compromise the rounder exterior look as well. Next we have the living quarters further to the back of the ship, and this could be swapped out for anything you like, but I chose this for the feel of having an actual living area, like a kitchen and all that, plus spare beds for any passengers that may be coming along. But I was surprised it looks considerably cheaper. You could consider swapping this out for something like a workshop or a science lab, but they don't feel very on point for a limo style ship. And the Teo living quarters is an option, and I think I will use this for the Ronin because it has a weight bag for him to practice on. But you could use the Teo living quarters B, which has slots for windows, and if you place the windows, this gets rid of the gym equipment and perhaps has more of a sit down and watch the view vibe. If you want a far glitzier living space, then in my opinion the 2x1 Stroud all-in-one berth is the way to go. It feels a lot more put together, the lighting's great, and weirdly the beds here look better than in the Stroud's captain's quarters. Also, there is the option for the Stroud 2x1 living quarters. Honestly, it's up to you. There's a few options here for the Habs. But let's get into the build itself and show you how to make it. The easiest way to visually understand it is just to split the levels here, and I will go over each piece of the bottom layer and then the top layer. Starting from the rear of the bottom layer, we have the Teo cowling flipped for the underside, followed by the Pinpoint 4G landing gear. By the way, this ship is easiest to make at Teo Astroneering in Neon. At the Ryogen elevator, choose the floor and speak to the bluehead chick. We use the Shipbed 200 landing bay, which is facing the rear, and this attaches to a Teo companionway 1x1 bottom B. This is our entryway. Following this is the 360T Stellarator reactor, snug and tidy, kept hidden by another of the Teo cowling at the front. Either side of this reactor and cowling is the Pinpoint 3G landing gear 4 with a PB030 auto electron beam mounted on top. For the top layer, beginning with the Shogun cockpit at the front, we then have a 2x1 Teo Top A captain's quarters. The Top A variety of Teo Habs don't have the connection points on the side, so they have the smoother cylindrical-like look. Atop this at the front is an equipment plate with another of the same particle beams mounted. Behind this is the extender port 200 docker. Attached to the back of this Hab is the Teo Top A 2x1 Hab, which can be anything of your choosing, but for the Ronin I would go with the living quarters for the punching bag, training room vibe, but perhaps the all-in-one berth would be better for a more of a limo accommodating passengers feel. Again, this can be swapped for the Stroud all-in-one berth for a glitzier feel, though do bear in mind it changes the exterior aesthetic here to be more angular. But by the way, the last of these three ships makes good use of Stroud and Teo Habs in neat combination, but it is a much bigger ship, so if you're looking for a smaller one, then either this one or the next one's the go. We also have two porthole windows on the top, so we have skylights, extra viewing for passengers, and we also have one flipped on the underside for additional vibes. Either side of this Hab is the M40 Ulysses helium tank. I just think they fit the more rounded look I was going for, and connected to the back of this Hab is the R3000 Alpha Grav drive with a Bastille S81 shield generator, and connected to either side of the grav drive is an Ares DT30 engine, affording us a top speed of 150. At the back is another of the Teo cowling to complete the look. So here we have a sleek, luxe, limo vibe A-class ship. This is what the Ronin shall be using. However, if you decide to use this ship build, but you want to make it better because you have all the ranks of piloting and starship design, well, check out this beast. This is a C-Class version, Jiraiya Mark II, slightly different on the exterior, but ultimately it feels like an elevated version of the same design. It also has the luxury of matching the fastest top speed in the game because of our particular engine choice. The video I recently made about the fastest ship in the galaxy, the Bounty Hunter Ship Guide, explains how to acquire these White Dwarf 3015 engines, which need Starship Design 4, but they uniquely afford a top speed of 180. If you have the engine system's skill rank 3, you will get a top speed of 215, and if you have Sam Coe as a crew member, then his piloting skill will also afford you an extra 30% top speed, resulting in a top speed of 280. But again, 180 is already pretty speedy. Anyways, onto the build itself. A three-way split this time. I basically separated the engine machinery section and then split what remains of the top and bottom layer. This should be as simple to understand as the last one. The bottom layer starting at the rear is the same shipbed 200 landing bay, followed by the same Teo companionway, and then to cap it off is a Teo braking engine. I used cowling on the first version, which gives it a sort of overbite look, but it depends on what you prefer. I wanted to demonstrate both, and theoretically either are interchangeable. The fore landing gear is the same as before, but mounted on top is the PB0300 Auto Alpha Beam, same as the other side. However, there is an additional set of landing gear set to the mid variant, placed on either side of the hangar bay. Now onto the top, we have the Samurai cockpit, followed by the captain's quarters hab, with a docker and an equipment plate on top in front, but this time with the PB0300 Auto Alpha Beams. The second hab at the back has windows on every side available, as well as the top and bottom, every space windowed except where the fuel tanks are attached. They're the same as before, and the Polo 2030 cargo hold is squashed in between them on the underside. You may have noticed that the A-class version of the ship that the Ronin uses doesn't have any cargo hold, and instead just relies on what space comes with the cockpit. This is because the Ronin runs really lightweight, and resource collection and that sort of thing just isn't his thing. However, this is a flashier ship, and so it has cargo space. Now we can grab this top layer and slot it onto the bottom layer, and now we have the machinery to discuss. The back section is made up of a pinpoint landing gear again, and attached to either side is a Teo end cap with another pair stacked on top. In between these two is the SGD 2300 grav drive with the Assurance SG 3000 shield generator atop it. Then attached to the back is a Pinch 7Z reactor, though you could go for the 8A as well, and each of the four White Dwarf 3015 engines are mounted to the back of the Teo end caps. And there you go, a speedy C-class upgraded version of the Jiraiya ship. Perhaps if you take the Ronin build further, or modify the Ronin build to include piloting and starship design, then this could be the build for you. However, if we take it even further and just go all out, expanding the same design scheme to its endpoint as a full-blown luxury cruise liner, well, then we get this. This is designed entirely to support a large crew and is also suitable for transporting many passengers, but ultimately I wanted to convey the feeling of a yacht, but still keep it related in feel to the original transport we made. And you can see this evolution clearly. It has been designed through to truly indulge with windows everywhere for viewing pleasure, and there is a far more extensive interior. But let's get into the interior tour, and then I'll show you how to make it. The hangar bay now connects directly into a 2x2 Teo battle stations hab. Typically in this design, I use the Teo habs to designate areas for the crew and the Stroud habs to designate the high-paying passenger feel, also for yourself. But again, I kind of made this with a luxury cruise in mind. Perhaps some of the habs as we go through could be adjusted to accommodate a more personal feeling ship, and you could just nick the layout, but either way, let's continue. To the left from the entrance, there is a Teo living quarters with beds that I imagine are for the captain and another crew member, and it also acts as a sort of coffee break room type area for the crew. But back to the battle stations area, we can actually take the ladder up in this room straight to the top floor. This is the control stations room for the crew, and it leads direct into the cockpit at the front. The docker entrance is also now just before the cockpit. But let's turn back the other way and head on down into the bulk of the ship. We have this long connected area where a 3x1 Stroud all-in-one berth connects to a Stroud 2x1 all-in-one berth, and all around are windows on the sides and top, but in the middle of this long cabin area there is also a ladder down which drops straight into a 2x2 Stroud living quarters, which really does look comfy as there are viewing portholes all over the floor so the passengers can chill and eat and enjoy the view, and adjacent to this is an additional all-in-one berth with both sky and floor windows for the ultimate views. I suppose this could be like the deluxe suite or something. Heading back to the midsection of the upper floor and continuing right to the back, we have a living quarters with extra beds and a breakfast table with window views. On the other side is an infirmary for hurt passengers, and also it has a view. Now, I know that you can't really run a luxury cruise liner, but with the power of imagination, you can do anything, I believe. And besides, it looks cool, and at least it makes for a cool space for lots of crew. There's plenty of bedding for them, plus the passengers that you can transport. Let's show you how to build it. While this is a much bigger ship, thankfully it isn't all that complex to make. First, we cut off the crusts, and then split the bread down the middle, and then we can go over each layer. Each of the wings, or crusts if you prefer, are made up of, starting from the front, Teo braking engines, followed by the first of the Pinpoint 4G landing gear starboard. Mounted atop it is a PB300 Auto Alpha turret. I use turrets exclusively on this ship, as I feel like automated defense systems fit the vibe of a luxury cruise ship more. All the other particle beam turrets are the same, and there is an additional set of turret weapons that we'll get to later. Moving along the wing, we have another of the same landing gear, followed by 6 of the Teo midcaps arranged like so, and then another of the landing gear with another turret, another landing gear at the back of that, followed by the first of the Poseidon DT220 engines. As we pan over the other wing, we can see it is exactly the same but mirrored for the port side. This is a mostly symmetrical ship design. Let's tackle the bottom layer. Shipbed 200 landing bay, followed by Teo 2x2 battle stations, bottom B, and on the starboard side is a 2x2 Teo living quarters. 2 portholes are at the front, 2 on the rear at the top, and 2 equipment plates with Blaze P pulse laser turrets attached. Also on the underside of this section are 6 porthole windows. The section behind this is a pinpoint landing gear with a 900-ton helium tank on either side. Behind this is the 2x2 Stroud living quarters, and on the starboard side is the Stroud 2x1 all-in-one berth B. On the outer sides of this structure, there are portholes at the top, and underneath there are 6 viewing portholes as well. The next section is another of the landing gear. This time either side is a Pinch 8A reactor and a J52 gamma drive with an assurance shield generator on top. Behind that section are 5 Panoptes Polo cargo holds arranged like so. Now, for the skinny top layer, we have the Himeji command bridge, followed by a Teo 2x1 control station, top A. This has a docker on the top at the front and a window on the top at the back. And then we have this long section of Stroud berths, the 3x1 followed by the 2x1, and across the whole length of this section, there are porthole windows on the top, as well as 2 starboard windows and port windows placed here and here on the sides. On the starboard side, attached like so, is a Stroud living quarters 2x1 with 2 windows on top and a porthole window at the back. The exact same setup is on the port side, but instead it is the 2x1 Stroud infirmary. And then at the back of that is the final of the 3 Poseidon engines. As you can see, the skinny top layer slots onto the base layer, and then we can just snap the wing sections on. There you go, we have a luxury cruise liner ship. Well, the best I could do. Obviously, you can go the extra mile with interior decorations, and hopefully in the future, either via updates or mods, interior customization is expanded. I would really like to have HABs that feel intensely luxurious, like the interior of the Fortuna from the Freestar Rangers questline, but that is that. I hope you guys liked it. I actually struggled with this one a little bit because there weren't any intensely or overtly luxurious HABs like the Fortuna interior. But there you go. I'm sure there's also other arrangements, and probably in the future we'll do some other kind of luxury ships. I'll figure out something else as well, but hopefully this video at the very least has given you some design inspiration for your money-hungry CEO ship, or rather your Ryujin operative or something with the smaller designs. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and do check out the other shipbuilding videos if you enjoy seeing designs and the inspirations behind them, and of course how to build them. My name is Scott from Fudge Muppet, and I'll be back to nerd out with you again next time.